another segment of Fresh Dialect, and joining us with the conversation. We appreciate having you with us. I'm Deidre Jackson. I want the rest of the conversationalists to introduce themselves as well.
I'm Basti.
I'm Julie.
I'm Nicole.
E for me.
E from Edie. All right, we're gonna dive real deep on this one, you guys. I'm very interested in this. This is a very sensitive topic that it can evoke a lot of emotion. So if you're aware of anything that's happening in the media, we understand that racial tension is pretty high.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because of the young black men that are being, some would argue, slaughtered in the street at the hands of police.
Right.
So why don't we dive into this, and let's talk a little bit about the couple of situations that we just recently had with Alton Sterling.
It's difficult as an African American male. When I see Alton Sterling, I think about being a kid growing up and seeing the guy, and even today seeing the guy who is in front of the store and he's hustling, in so many words, and everyone knows him. He's in most cases he's harmless. He's just trying to make some money, and to know that that person was seen as a threat. Others would say non-compliant, but for that person to end up dead was very disturbing to me, especially the way that it happened. The fact that it was right up close, point blank range. That's just something that I never thought I would see police officers having to do, and it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good, and as an African American male, it makes me question how well do police know people in the community, because they would know, like, that's the cigarette guy.
Right.
He's not a
Right.
threat, and maybe situations go differently when it's that kind of relationship between police officers and.
I think it's a big deal when you talk about police in the community. I think that there's several different schools of thought on that. So if you're a school teacher, especially in the Chicago public school system, you have to live in Chicago. That's a mandate for them, right? And being in from a police organization, I don't know that they have that same consideration that they must live in the community of which they police.
They're supposed to.
I think
If
in
they
Chicago
don't,
you do.
you do.
In Chicago
in
you
some
do,
places, yeah.
But in the suburbs you don't, because I have a friend that is a cop in a suburb of Chicago,
Okay.
like Norwich, and they don't live in Norwich, they live in Chicago, and they don't have those rules.
Sure.
And that plays a big part to what you were saying, because we talk about police officers knowing their community and learning the people that are in the community. I work right here on the west side, and we have two individuals that are always coming in to use our bathroom in our school. And we call the police, and the police know them.
Right.
They're like,
Right.
come on, Larry, we've told you about
Right,
this.
right.
Like, you can't come in here, there's children in here. And we just, obviously, the man doesn't listen to us, so that's why we have to call the police.
Right.
But the police never harms him, because they
Right.
know him.
Right.
So I think that you're right. If they maybe would have said, man, that's Alton, man, he's not doing anything.
Or even the convenience store owner could have said something like.
Well, I think he did.
And they still took action.
Yeah, because I think
know
the
he
person
said
that called
something.
the cops was, quote unquote, a homeless person.
Yeah,
With
I
a
did hear
phone,
that.
With a phone.
With a phone.
With a phone.
Okay.
Because you can get a
Because
phone.
you can get a phone if you're homeless.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. I need to start.
So,
Noticing.
so that's what, that's what they're saying,
Yeah.
and the media obviously puts out what they want to believe
Yeah,
and
yeah.
to see, to justify the shooting. Because I think that's the big thing. Like, I saw the video when I was,
the media tried to justify.
no, I
And
think
just for the
that,
record, it was CDs. It wasn't
Right.
cigarettes.
yes,
And I
it
don't
is.
think
But I think that
In
when
this case-
I watched it on vacation, and CNN, of course, everyone,
Goes over
it
time.
was,
Played
it
it,
was,
and
I mean,
it
they
became
played it
the top of
over
the
and
thing,
over,
But I
but no one ever said, not
The
one media
reason.
person said, this was wrong. Like,
Okay.
I didn't
well,
hear
then
it.
go to the shooting in Minnesota in Castell, and the
Oh,
governor
absolutely.
actually said this was wrong. This has probably had racial
Mhm.
undertones to it. Like,
So
and he
though
specifically said that.
But even though we're seeing all this stuff on social media about police officers getting killed and people getting killed, what if social media wasn't around? How many lives have been lost at the hands of a police officer prior to us being able to get footage with our camera?
And that's the part, that unfortunately, as African American male, you know that you want to be able to point that out to people, And it's difficult to do that sometimes because people think that you're picking on police officers. But I mean, you can't help to ask the question, how much of this was happening before cameras on phones?
yes.
How much was happening before social
yes.
media let it be known? You know, I mean, we knew about 2 killings, within, was it 24 hours?
Yes.
Was it?
Yeah.
I mean, and social media helped play a role into that, and it's like, man, how much did this happen before? I've had people who were incarcerated and they felt like they were wrongly convicted or wrongly arrested and then handled, and I've had run-ins with the police that I thought were unfair, and I'm like, but who did you tell back then, and
Right.
did it really matter? So,
Right, so let me ask you this, guys, from a sensitivity standpoint, do you think that the Black community is hypersensitive to the killings? Because statistically stating, so there's stats that say that white men or white folks die at the hands of police, you know, if not more than Blacks at this point in you know, history. What do you guys think about that? Are we super sensitive as a Black community?
So one statistic, I've done lots of reading on this recently, but part of that is it appears there are more non-deaths that people get pulled over for, harassed, all that in the Black community,
Sure.
but not necessarily more deaths. And so that,
wait, say that again?
So you're
so there are
saying
more,
to-
like, you are more likely to be targeted because you are a Black man.
You, Ephraim.
You, Ephraim.
Mhm.
I don't like taking things personal like this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Which
but
you
go.
carried in a
But
red
go.
hat. They would come
Red
at you.
hat. But you're not necessarily more likely to be killed by a police
Okay.
officer
All right.
than my brother.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you, your brother has to be doing some really outrageous stuff, right?
Right.
That's what we perceive, right? So, a man can be killed for selling CDs. You know, a woman can be killed for, you know, we talk about Sandra Blank and her, and what
Her
happened with
traffic
her.
stop,
Yeah,
yeah.
the traffic stop that, and so there are situations that we can look at, like, how did that escalate
Right.
to death,
Yeah.
especially with trained professionals, that this is your job, this is your
Right,
profession.
right.
Your profession is to
Escalate,
escalate,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So
No, I
it
mean,
makes you
Nicole,
wonder.
Nicole, I mean,
Right.
you have a brother, older brother, younger
I
brother?
have 2 older brothers.
2 older brothers.
And actually, my brother did have a run-in with the cops in Orland
Mm-hmm.
about 25 years ago,
Mm.
where he was targeted.
Orland,
Orland, Illinois.
Okay.
Orland Park.
Orland Park, where he was at a gas station, and the gas station attendant came over and looked at him and saw him in a nice car, called the police, and the police flew down to the gas station to pull my brother over as he pulled out of the gas station for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
He got sent, they locked him up because they said his tail light was out.
Wow.
Thankfully, my uncle is a Cook County sheriff, so he came to bail him out.
Mhm.
But if not, he would have been in jail for allegedly having a broken tail light, all because he was Black.
And I think that's the thing. I think that's why, to your question, the reason why this sparks so much in people, because so many people, especially in the African American community,
Yeah.
have had these kind of incidents where all you did was tell your family members when you came home,
Yeah.
but you didn't feel that comfort to go to the police department as if something was really going to be done about it. And I think that's a lot of the difference.
Yeah.
And that's
for-
unfortunate, that's where we
call
feel
it,
like, me personally, that's where I can feel, and you know, powerless to a certain extent,
Right,
right?
right.
I don't have the resources, right? I don't have deep pockets that's going to, you know,
Right.
take up the, you know, judicial system. I don't have laws that stand behind me. I don't also have, you know, ties or a comfort that I can walk into a police department and know that I'm going to be treated fairly based on who I am. And so it does leave you feeling pretty trapped or railroaded. So let's pivot the conversation a little bit and talk about all lives matter, Black lives matter, blue lives matter.
Real quick, right before you go to that, Julie's from Minnesota.
Yeah.
What was, I mean, obviously, did you call back home? What was your
Yeah.
feeling when you
So
first
I-
heard about the Linda
Um,
Castillo?
Right. I'm from St. Anthony. That is the police department of 23. I think there are 23 police officers in this department. So tiny. And I was looking at my CNN, whatever, and 7 o'clock in the morning, and I actually both texted both my boyfriend, who's Black, and my mom at the same time. It was like, FYI, this is happening.
Mhm.
So I called my parents and I asked them for permission to have this conversation. And so we hashed that out at the very beginning. I was like, you guys need to be on top of this. And it shut our town down. And the laments of like, we didn't think this could happen in our community,
Mhm.
because it's a mile by a mile, pretty multi-ethnic. There's the percentage of white people is actually fairly low. The school system is fairly white, but the community, well, I think never mind. But lots of that. But our police officers are so small. Our police district is so small that they go to Falcon Heights and go other places.
Gotcha.
But as a community, it was a lot of laments and going to prayer meetings and really needing to deal with the race piece at home. And for my family, it was a big deal for them to go get their Black Lives Matter sign, to go put it out front. My neighbors made 2,000 of them.
Mhm.
And so they were like, we as a community are going to be vocal and stand by. But hearing that, and that was very difficult and is very difficult, probably for the first time wrestling with white guilt in some ways. For many of my community members, talking to my high school friends who were Black and like them protesting and trying to get other people to participate in that. And so
And that's interesting. Was he like a newer police officer on the force?
been there for 5 years. They had not shot a gun in at all, and I think the last 7 or 8 years.
I'll say this, based on
So
the,
I think it was like a,
based on the
oh my
video,
goodness, what
based on the
happened?
video,
He knew he messed up.
it looked like he hadn't shot a gun
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
before.
really, I mean, they give us parking tickets and
Mhm.
Dairy Queen tickets for wearing your helmets. Like, as you
Wow.
like
Wow.
drive your little, I mean,
Wow.
just
To take
like,
some
it is
things
not
like
the
that.
same,
Sure.
like, I know.
It's almost
police
like a
officers-
trickle down effect of
And so my guess is
spiritual.
he freaked
This is
out.
demonic. It's demonic. It seems like a demonic thing, like
Mhm.
a trickle down effect. If people believe in demons and how they can work through people, you know. And I think all of this is something to keep us all in fear and not pay attention to what's really going on in the world.
I
So if
agree.
we focus on, I need to protect myself, then you're not thinking about anything else. You know what I mean? So it's dumbing down our thoughts and
Yeah.
dumbing down what we need to really be thinking about. And all lives should matter.
Right, and,
you
and,
know?
and it is raising, if you will, these walls of fear, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's-
I had
that's
a
it,
conversation with my husband just recently, and we have, 4 small children that range between 13 and 5, and it saddened me when I stepped back and I thought, like, they have to be so much more aware of the racial tension than I was 30 years ago.
Mhm.
And not to say that it didn't exist, but it's true, right? Whether it's social media and the different campaigns that are happening, all lives, Black lives, blue lives, and there's an outlet that people have to voice what they really think and feel, right?
But I think that when piggyback off what you said when you said all life should matter, I think that whenever I hear all lives matter, I get a little angry because I feel like it's a disrespect to what's going on today.
Okay.
And today, Black lives are the topic. They are the ones being killed by the most powerful position. We think that the most powerful position in this country is a president. No, it's a police officer.
Yeah.
Because if a police officer tells the president, put your hands up, he needs to put his hands up.
Right.
Do you know what I'm
I
saying?
never thought about it like that.
So that is the most powerful position in America.
Absolutely.
And the African American culture is being targeted.
And we have to
And I
understand
see
why.
it. And that's what I'm saying. Like,
Why?
we have to understand why, but I don't even think that we need to understand why, because it goes back to generations
It goes back
of
generational.
generational. We want to talk about from the 1800s all the way. It's a curse of this country.
And I'll tell you why too.
It's the curse that
Yeah.
this country has
Yeah.
inherited because of
Yeah.
how they did people.
Right.
And I feel like what you reap is what you sow.
Yes.
And that's why, like, there's a section on the west side called Freedom Square, and they're camping out for the last 2 weeks. They're sleeping there. They're pitching tents, and they're sleeping there, and they're handcuffing themselves to ladders. They're locking themselves to ladders because they are bringing awareness to the fact that, yes, we don't want white lives to die. We don't want Latino lives to die. Right now, it's about Black lives.
Yeah.
So when I see
it's
Jennifer
a fight
Lopez,
for survival. It really
yeah,
is.
when
And
I
so-
see Jennifer Lopez tweet out "All Lives Matter," I want to be like, what are you saying?
Yeah, but with the All Lives Matter, I think I say that on the standpoint of when I look at black men and I look at black women, we lost something in our homes. So we have to take responsibility for what we do
Absolutely.
as parents. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine and she was telling me that her daughter's son was children's father wasn't going to take care of the child because he's mad at her. So does this life matter because you don't have the time to take care of this child, or does it matter when something bad happens to the
I mean,
child?
I think that is absolutely true, but there is a brokenness
It's a brokenness.
that is prevalent in the black community,
It
and
is.
it goes back to what Vasi's saying.
Generational.
Generational,
Yes.
right? So we look at the big government. One of the things that irritates me, drives me bonkers, is the fact that we forget how, and pardon me, Julie, but white privilege, right? And I get that some can carry the white guilt that's associated with it, but they had a head start. I'm talking about a head start. When I look at the black men in this situation, and yes, he's an individual, you should sit in your house and take care of this child that you just made. However, his great grandfather was sold away and was treated as a stud. That is produced. That mindset is in there. It's not something that this man just woke up and said, "Oh, I just want to be a jerk today." Almost called him
But
an
it's
A
also a
somebody,
learned
but I
behavior.
didn't.
A lot of people haven't been taught properly in the home.
No,
We have a lot of
definitely
mothers down in their kids. You damn your kids, but when the police kills them, it's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of it like this. Although I totally agree with everything that Deidre stated,
Yes.
but then how does that mentality now go to the Baton Rouge shooting with Gavin Long and then in Dallas with Michael Johnson? But now we've been victims of the police, and then now here are two African American men who go out and kill police. I thought I would never see the day
Really?
We're not done. It's not done.
that
The
an
rest of the country will not be
African
televised.
American male would go out and kill police. And obviously in Baton Rouge it was 7 shot, 3 killed. In Dallas it was 5 killed, 7 injured. I mean, the 5 killed was the most police killed since 9/11.
But there's a
and
big
to see those
anger.
young men,
But yes,
African American
it's an
men.
anger. It's an
But
anger.
watch this, and that's what we have to be careful with,
Absolutely.
because then it becomes a setup of, here is this view of police that in some cases may be legitimate, and you may be able to really research and say, just like it was found by the justice system where Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson. It was found that African Americans were targeted. So if they're targeted, then the response cannot be violence, and that's where we have to calm heads have to prevail, because the progress is going to be made, especially from the African American community. We cannot be violent. And I was just so shocked and appalled that 2 African American men would rise up and kill police
I'm
officers.
really
here-
shocked though, Ephraim. Like,
Yes, I
it
was.
happened.
But hold
Yes,
on.
I
Here's
was.
the
You
thing.
couldn't
They
get
were
away.
not your average African American men.
Tell me why.
They were in the military.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
were trained.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me put myself in the Dallas sniper shoes. I went to Iraq. I killed. I saw people get killed next to me. I come home because I'm supposed to now live a free life. And I'm supposed
And
to
I'm
just,
fighting for freedom
and I'm fighting
elsewhere.
for freedom, and they're killing my own.
Yeah.
Oh, you best believe I'm gonna get my snipe, and I'm gonna go kill some cops too.
But he was
And-
already planning. He had
Absolutely,
already,
but it doesn't matter, Julie.
So in your
It doesn't
in your
matter.
opinion, it wasn't so much that it was what recently had happened. You think
I think it's been events. I think that was the icing on
built
the
up.
cake.
It was built up.
Yeah.
It was the ability, like, oh, this happened, the spark. Unfortunately, then it discredited for many Americans the Black Lives Matter.
Of course.
Because they tried
So had he he was gonna
But
do
why?
it.
But why?
Either
Police
way.
shootings don't discredit Blue Lives Matter.
it has to,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
that's-
it's
But it did, because
But it-
but I
it
understand
did.
what Julie is saying, because I felt like so much momentum seemed like it was taken out of the media circle when those shootings
You
happened.
had to choose.
I tell you what
now.
it made me think. It
And-
made
and that's
it
unfortunate.
It made my community, that's part of my community, choose between Black Lives Matter or Police Lives Matter. Whereas they were like, okay, Black Lives Matter, I get this. This is something has happened. This was not okay. made you choose.
But it's like,
And it shouldn't have, but it
and
did.
it shouldn't, right? And unfortunately, I don't think it should drive that
It
type of
set up
mentality.
the-
What it should drive to me is, why is this why is there's so much hatred and anger? Finally, what Malcolm X said, the rooster will come home to roost. Why did it come? Why did it happen? There's years of this that has set up.
I'll say this. I'll say this.
Wait.
Go.
I also want to say what it made me think and feel was a bit of it made me pretty afraid of what's coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And so,
yes.
what
We're gonna see more of it.
in my conspiracy theorist way, let me just, what agenda is really being pushed?
Yeah.
Right? Are we now going to say, you know what, I now have to police the black community that much more because they have guns? We don't have no guns. He had a gun because he was in the military. We don't have guns. We can't go to war with them. But I bet you believe they can make it seem as if we are just as dangerous, and now I have to police them, and now let me bring my military tanks all through, and let's introduce curfews. That's what I think it's set up for.
I'll say this. I think one of the things that reason why it's so much like, so for me, one, my idea is just like similar to Freddie Gray's situation. I feel like police officers are going to get off. So I'm already upset before it even goes through the judicial process, right? That's
Because
one.
it's not for you. It's not your
Then the
judicial
other
process.
thing is, I watched, it's interesting I'm using this term, I watched so much social media during that time, and I just saw image after image and opinion after opinion, and then ridiculous opinions from media, and then I was being inundated
It's
with
too
it
much.
that I had to take a moment
Yeah.
and say,
Yeah.
you know what, I need to come off social media, because I was becoming so upset. I was becoming so upset, and rightfully I should be upset, but I was becoming upset that I had to make sure I wasn't leaning towards now being irrational. And I think that's what's happening when people are inundating themselves with social media, friends, especially if you're around friends who only think one way and aren't able to be open about it, then it's just charging something, and then that frustration, you're unemployed, you're underpaid, your baby mother won't let you see the kids, and now this response comes out that can be very, very
And I think you're absolutely right that it does set up this precedence where you have to choose. Like if I think about myself personally,
and that's the
I don't want to choose,
We don't,
right?
we should
I
not
don't
need to choose.
You should
I
not
shouldn't
have to
have to
choose.
choose.
Have to
You
choose.
set it up as
All lives do
Yeah.
matter. I believe in that
But
because
the
it's life and
movement-
it's created by
the
God.
movement is Black Lives Matter. The reality is all lives
Exactly.
matter. But the
Exactly.
movement,
Yeah, the movement.
And watch
is
this. When
Black
you
Lives
say
Matter.
in this country, everybody's had their turn for the movement, and that's why I think, and obviously it'll be talked about in more detail, but I think that's why it's so offensive to say all lives matter, because everyone is going to have their turn, whether it's the LGBT community, whether it's African Americans, whether it's women's right to vote. Everyone has their time at their movement, and you don't impede a movement by trying to say, well,
But what about
everybody else? You allow the movement to have
take
its
its
say
course,
until it really gets that resolution, and then other ones can either join on without removing Black Lives Matter. I think, as we all know, the civil rights, obviously there were some things for African Americans having equal rights to do certain things, but then there were other agendas put on the whole civil rights that made it a civil rights movement, and then it was about the war, veterans, all those things, but it never pulled away from the central object of the movement. And I think that's what has attempted to happen. And then to Julie's point, we should not have to choose. I heard someone say it, and it was until all Americans cry at both instances, when an African American is killed and when a police officer is killed, then we won't have the progress. We have to. There's a heart issue here, in my opinion, that we cry on one and then we're mad at the other, or we cry for the officer and we're mad, and that just can't happen.
And why has it always been a black and white?
Yes.
Why other races don't deal with this? Why are we, like, even the Latino community?
Yeah.
You don't have as much, news
No, you're
attention
right.
for what's going on. It's
But
always a black.
it's amazing you say that, because there's Latinos' lives being killed by police officers in California,
And that's the part I
and
wonder.
you don't see it in the media.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
This
they're
whole
getting
country
killed
was founded
all the
on black
time.
and white. Period.
Yeah,
This country
and
was
that's
founded
what it
on
is.
black
And that's
white.
often part of my question, because I have friends from the Latino community. I'm wondering, man, how do they feel? Because I'm sure injustices are happening for them too, but you don't always
But
hear
I've
about it.
learned in this last, with all of this happening, some of my Latino friends have shot the heck out of me and how they think. That I'm like,
In what way?
in like the way of they don't care about Black Lives Matter, but when the police shooting happened, they were so upset about that.
Oh.
And I said, wait a minute, what about the ones that we have video proof of the injustice, and you don't care about that?
I'll tell you
So
why.
that for me as a Latina, that has really shocked me in the last couple of weeks, just to hear a lot of my Latino brothers and sisters and some are Christian, some that I'm like, oh, you're borderline racist. You know, I can't attribute it to nothing else but the way you feel about Black people.
Yeah.
You just kind of sound a little Trumpish when Trump was like, he was
But-
like, wait. He was like, they're rapists, they're murderers, and some I assume are good people. You were like, some I assume are Christian.
No.
Like I said, this conversation is very emotionally evoking
Loaded.
and charged, so we want to hear from you. Join the conversation.